Sebastian.
Just um, there's an experiment that they did with rats where they were basically drowning them and they had them like swim around in this like kind of dark water, I guess. And they checked how long the rat would keep trying to stay alive until they drowned. And on a different like test run, what they would do is they would save the rat just before it was about to drown. And then when they tested that same rat again back in the water, they tried treading water for so much longer because they believed it would be saved. And so I guess my question is, why is hope such a good motivator? It like literally pushed the rat past its physical limits. Want to talk about something?
That's a good warm-up question.
A warm-up, huh?
Yeah.
It's like walking into a ring with Mike Tyson.
That's it.
Are you single, Sebastian? Are there times you don't want to be single? Do you ever hope that, like, you walk into Pete's and run into a young, attractive... Are you hetero? Young, attractive, hetero woman? You just sometimes leave the house in hopes of running into a young, attractive, hetero woman?
Yeah.
And how often does that hope become a reality?
That's
I mean, I look at you, you have nice hair, nice eyes, nice nose, nice lips. You just have a nice physical body. And so when you walk into a coffee shop hoping to meet a young, attractive, hetero woman, your hope is not too far, you know. There is elements of, realistically speaking, there's a good chance that you can find someone because of the way you look. You still have hope. Now let's fast forward. You're 18, 50 years from now. You're like 70, your hair is gone, you have wrinkles everywhere in your body, you smell bad, you're limping along, you look bad. You're sitting home. Do you think you would go out to Pete's on your wheelchair, hoping to find a young, attractive, hetero woman? Would you sit in your wheelchair and wheel yourself to a mental institute hoping to find a young, attractive, crazy hetero woman? The point I'm trying to make, I suppose, is hope is a very interesting thing, and it really depends on where you are in life, what your experiences have been. If you've ever been around people who desire to end their life, whether it's Jesus Christ or a friend of mine who suicided herself a couple months ago, If I was to be very honest, most instructors, I suppose, would walk into class with their lecture notes handy, and somewhere inside them, they have this assumption that what they're going to talk about is enormously important. Politics, philosophy, religion, sociology, history, and that students should pay attention because it's helpful for them. It'll save them. And I'm sure that some of it is true. And I suppose they walk to class hoping that everyone who's listening will eventually capture some of those elements and benefit from them. What happens when an instructor comes to class and has no hope for those things? Why do you think that people go to AA centers? I mean, I don't know if you've ever had friends who've been addicted to anything and they wanted to rid themselves of that particular addiction. It's an interesting phenomenon because, pride and autonomy play an important part in that, because for the longest time you assume that you're able to overcome those things on your own. I mean, you have your name, you have your reputation, you have your pride, and you don't want people to know that you're addicted, And you try, in your own privacy, to not drink, not to smoke, not to watch porn, whatever the case may be. And there are good addictions. I'm only talking about the ones that could kind of devastate your life. At a certain point, you realize your hope in trying to overcome this by yourself on your own is just an illusion. It's stupid, it's childish, it's immature, it's unexamined. And the truth is, you come to a place where you realize you just need help. For the first time, you realize the importance of codependency, of a support system, that you are far too small, insignificant, powerless to make any drastic changes that actually matter. And so you become hopeless. You realize your will is insufficient, your intellectual prowess is insufficient, and what little support system you have or created for yourself, that too is insignificant. So like a beggar, you go out, you go to an AA center, and you stand up and you say, "Hi, my name is Amir Sabzavari. I'm an alcoholic." Hello. And it's something you've tried to refrain from, exposing yourself in public. Hello. You know Tia there? You know who Tia is? You know she's black. I mean, I don't know her well. If I was to create a story, and I don't know how true the story may be, but I doubt very much she would sit you down and tell you what it means and how it feels to be African American. Because I think there is something about her that says to her, whispers maybe, that Sebastian will never get it. Don't even walk towards him in hopes of making him understand, not just intellectually, but also feel emotionally. So she just doesn't hope for that. She doesn't create stories. Unless she happens to be drunk or she happens to be on this high moral horse that, yes, I think I have the linguistic ability and the sermonic ability to go and inspire this man to think and feel. No. Hello, Matthew.
Very well.
Sure.
Good.
I think the story behind people's hopes, those stories change as you change. Right now, the thing you're hoping for is to finish this class and finish other classes with a relatively good grade. Then you sit somewhere and you fill out applications for a 4-year school, and you have some hopes there, whether it's Stanford or East Bay. Hopefully you'll get accepted somewhere. And then you no longer hope to graduate or finish Laney because you've passed those things. Now you hope to find yourself a job. Then you'll hope to find yourself a companion. Then you'll have this ridiculous hope of being a parent. Then you'll hope for your kids to come home, not smelling like weed or not using foul language. And then the hope changes into you going home, hoping that your wife will leave you alone. Atiya laughs only because she doesn't leave her husband alone. And then, of course, as you age a little bit more, you'll hope that you'll have a good death, that you will not have cancer, extreme pain for 2, 3, 4, 5 months, and then die a miserable death. You'll pray, you'll hope. I mean, that's what prayer is. You hope that you'll put your head on the pillow and you just don't wake up. I don't think we can survive without hope. Because as we've talked about this many times, I think, we are future-oriented animals. There's a good part of you that lives in the future. And you have stories about yourself that has to do with the future. If I was to give you, for example, the story of Jesus in the Gospel of Judas, story of Socrates, I mean, it's a very, very depressing place to be for these two chaps. I mean, you're Jesus Christ, man. You have like the Spirit of God inside you. And if you don't find religious language interesting, you have the ability to inspire people. And let's just say the historical account of his life is accurate, that he left at the age of 12, went somewhere for 18 years, comes back at the age of 18, begins like giving talks for about 3 years before he's put to death. And every time you go and talk, I mean, there's a good amount of hope inside you. Hope that the Holy Ghost will come down, consume you, and then you will speak a certain language, a certain tongue that is not of human creation. I mean, we had sort of a gathering last night with my aunt and a couple of her friends. There was nothing about the conversation that was interesting or inspiring. It's nice that people can be social, gather, walk away from being alone. I mean, these are people engaged very much in politics, and the conversation was good, but it was just regular human tongue. The twos and fours, tables and chairs. But that's not the case for Jesus. I mean, he's inspired. And you know what happens when you find yourself, you don't know this perhaps well right now because your age and experience, but once you get into a relationship, and when you go home and your wife or a husband in a bad mood, it impacts you. So someone who's been inspired, that inspiration impacts you. It either pisses you off because you become envious, you want to be like that, but you can't. That's just not the way you've been wired. Or that moment of inspiration forces you to think and reflect about who and what you are and how you lived your life and spent your time, and that also pisses you off. But nevertheless, it is an inspired moment. I mean, consider for a moment the man who has this ability to inspire people. At a certain moment, he comes to realize, good morning, Alex. I don't care for inspiration. You ever been to Costco? And you've also been to 7-Eleven, right? Well, today after school, you should go to 7-Eleven, buy yourself like a gallon of milk and look at the expiration date. There is no doubt that it's been expired for weeks, but people don't usually look at the expiration date. But let's say the expiration date is for a week. In a week's time, it'll be expired. Now go to Costco. The expiration date is 5 years from now. When you have dreams that are really, really big, like Malcolm X, justice, that's a huge dream to have. It's like a gallon of milk you buy from Costco. It's not going to be attained anytime soon. And there are going to be lots of obstacles in front of you. So that particular hope and that particular dream will carry you for the next like 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And every time you find a man or a woman being inspired coming to you after like your sermonic dialogue, you know, say, oh, that was great, Malcolm. When can I come to your workshop? You know. There comes a point where so many people have gone to Jesus or Malcolm or anyone with inspired emotions. And eventually someone like Jesus or Malcolm comes to realize that they're just flakes. Not flakes because they want to be flakes, but inspiration is very difficult to sustain. You know the difference between eros and pragma? These are two different aspects of love in the Greek tradition. Eros is non-committal. You and I can have sex, then you can wake up in the morning and you say, Amir, that was really good, but I don't want to see you again. We had a few wonderful moments together, but that was it. Pragma, on the other hand, is very, very different. We have sex. And then you go into the kitchen. And you make me a nice omelet. And then you do laundry. And then you vacuum the house. And then you shave my face. Now that is a committal relationship. I mean, sex is sex. It's filled with pleasure. You know. But then you got to realize at what point does inspiration become something that you're committed to, you want to protect. And the Gospel of Judas, at least as far as I know, he doesn't find anyone. He says, you know what, this is stupid. What's the use of like going somewhere and talking and having people applaud and 10 minutes later they just forget the whole thing. It's like hit and run. And so he just says, I no longer have any hope. Ends himself. Suicide is really, really, really interesting. It's like this dark cloud that covers the entire earth. And the person who happens to be in this particular emotional state, intellectual state, doesn't find anything interesting. I mean, there is no hope. And you realize that, I mean, do you know the story of Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam? Ilham knows. Isn't that true, Ilham? After all, you are Muslim. Why would you pick up a sword and chop someone's head off? I mean, you both speak Arabic. You both come from the same tradition. Why can't you just sit someone down and have a conversation with them? You lose hope. Language is insufficient. People don't have the capacity to hear, to understand, to apply. And I don't really have much patience to kind of just sit there day after day after day to educate you. And after a while I realized you're just a virus to my community. You make everyone sick, like Hugh Hefner. So what do? Well, you chop off his head. You know. And so when you examine the anatomy of hope very, very carefully, for all of us, and you don't have to be a philosopher, you don't have to have a profound amount of maturity to you, you know, hope is just a story that lives inside your head. It's just a desire, and then you pursue it. Hello, Tyler. and then you have it, and then you play with it, and then you just lose interest. Are you single? Are you hoping to go to a coffee shop and find yourself a nice, young, attractive hetero?
Yeah.
See? You're a rich man. Then let's say you meet someone, and let's call her Sebastiana. Hope for coffee, hope for conversation, hope to get it on. Get it on. You know what that is. And all of a sudden the nature of your hope changes. I want to be single. And then you say, how do I go about doing that? Should I tell her like I'm a little nutty? Should I tell her I want to go to Yosemite in hopes of finding myself? Should I tell her that I'm no good for her because I'm pathetic, that she deserves more? Should I tell her I just got a message from Jesus Christ that she's poison to my life? The older you get, the more your wings get clipped by the realities of life. The more you live with facts, and the less you live with hopes. And when there is no hope, all you have is just honesty. I mean, look, I don't know how women work this out, but for men it's quite simple. You go to a coffee shop, you run into a nice, attractive young woman, let's just say her name is Sebastiana. What exactly do you want from her? You want her soul? You want to have like a philosophical conversation? Or you want to get into her pants? Because ultimately that's what it is, right? I mean, we gotta play this dance, fine. You're respectful, you're dignified, you want to respect the other person's humanity. Have you ever heard of this man whose name is Jean-Paul Sartre? Yeah. Can I be honest? This is not from me, this is from Sartre. So just in case any of you are offended, go to France. You'll find his tombstone there, and you can complain to him. Picture this, Sebastian. You go home and your woman is waiting for you. She's made nice dinner, she's showered, she smells good, the candles are all lit, and you guys are sitting and having a great conversation. You say to yourself, whisper to yourself, this is such a great relationship. I love her. You walk to her, grab her hand, unbutton her blouse, lead her to the bedroom. My apologies to those of you whose ears are clean. You remove her skirt or whatever. And she says to you, make love to me. You say, of course, yes. I'm like Jesus Christ. I'm going to make love to your humanity. And then she pays close attention only to realize all of a sudden you're so interested in her flesh, the buttocks, the thighs, and you treat them like animals. And all of a sudden she stops you. She says, what are you doing? Why are you so rough? Stop doing that. Be gentle. What the fuck is wrong with you? And something that Sartre argued, and I think he's right. Ultimately, the act of sex turns everyone into an object. And if that's the case, what happens to love? Is it what? Something you say after you have your climax? So next time you engage in this particular exercise, know beforehand that at a certain point, you as a love-making machine, you're going to turn this woman or a man into simply flesh. Let's move on. Oliver. Ach, you sound like young Sheldon. Elham, give me a Muslim question. I'm just kidding. See, if any of you has said that to her, that'd be racist. So there are different kinds of dreams. Number one, you're talking about the dreams where you fall asleep and then you're not talking about like hopes and dreams, right? From the moment you wake up, what is given to you as emotional and intellectual nourishments, which also are foundations for your hopes and dreams in waking life, are impressions. Things you see, things you hear, things that force reflection and thoughts. Some of them you can digest, process, come to a certain conclusion. Some things you can't. Some of the events or experiences you have, they're a little too much, so you push them aside. Maybe your life is busy, maybe you just don't have time to think about them, or maybe they have a good amount of meaning, but you simply at that particular moment just don't have the capacity to deal with them. Okay. Some of the experiences are negative, some of the experiences are positive. Okay. So negative experiences create a different kind of dream or set of dreams, and positive experiences create a more inspirational dreams. A good amount of what you and I dream about have to do with the memories, experiences from the past, some of the hopes and dreams that we have unfulfilled, and some of the events that just take place on a daily basis. Okay. There's a great story that comes to us from the Middle Eastern tradition, this one from Iraq, where this young man goes to a teacher and says, God is dope. And I want to know where God is. That's your t-shirt, right? Yeah. I want truth. And the teacher looks at the student and comes to realize it's a great hope and dream to have. It's a nice thing to desire, but you just don't have the capacity just yet. And to kind of give him a lesson as to, you need to be patient for certain things. Patience for about 20, 30, 40, 50 years, with amount of discipline, training. He says, well, go to Safeway after you leave my house, buy yourself a huge salmon, fish. Put lots of salt, lots of garlic, and put in the oven. 350 for about 4 hours. And then eat the whole thing. The guy says, fine. But why should I do this? You said you wanted to be enlightened. and this is the path towards it. The guy goes to Safeway, buys a huge fish, lots of garlic, lots of salt, eats the whole thing. Then he goes to drink a cup of water, remembers what his master told him. No water. Don't brush your teeth, just go to sleep. And he has a dream. He's sitting by this pool of water, drinking. And I don't know if you know much about religious dream symbology. Water can be symbolic for baptism, it could be symbolic for purity, it could be symbolic for truth, enlightenment. And so he wakes up very happy. He runs to the master's house and says, I have been enlightened. I had this dream sitting by water. I've been baptized. You know, life can no longer touch me. Whatever life that lived inside me gone away. And this teacher looks at him and says, no, it's simply the product of garlic and salt. There was a guy in, I think he was born in 1875. An organization was built around him, the Theosophical Society, founded by an American guy, Alcott, and a Russian woman, Helena P. Blavatsky. And this organization was looking for a Messiah. Hello. And so eventually the competition was between two fellows, Krishnamurti and Christmas Humphreys. Krishnamurti won out. And he was lionized as the next Messiah in the 20th century. I don't know if you've heard of him. He had made some interesting observations, which was, if you're a Muslim, you're going to have dreams of Muhammad. If you're a Christian, you're going to dream of Jesus. If you're a Buddhist, you're going to dream of the Buddha. And I think what he was getting to was that your dreams really have to do with your culture, your background, your repressed emotions. Ultimately, all dreams are figments of one's imaginations. Now, that's one perspective. That's one aspect. Let's say you work at Home Depot and you're a young woman and you have hopes and dreams like Sebastian. Unlike him, of course, you're not looking for a nice, young, attractive, hetero man. You just want to make some money, you want to have a decent job, take care of your family. And so once or twice a week, if not more, you have dreams where you're in your bathroom, sitting by the toilet bowl. You look inside the bowl and you see poop. Like nice, healthy poop. I mean, I'm sure you know what nice, healthy poop looks like, right? How do you know that? I know, it's awful. It's awful being human. And then you see yourself in the stream, you put your hand in this toilet bowl, you grab a nice slice of this cake, you put it in your mouth, and you chew it. And you swallow it. And then you wipe your face clean, and then you go for the seconds, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth. And you wake up somewhat traumatized. What the hell is this? I could dream of Berkeley Rose Garden. You know, why am I dreaming of this? And then you take your dream to a therapist, or your dad, or your mom, or your grandmother. You know, like Moana. She takes her problems to her grandmother. You've seen the movie, right? Good job. And so your grandmother looks at you and says, so Ilham, you know, I haven't seen you for weeks. You have a job now here. Yes, what do you do? Home Depot. Well, do you like it? It's shit. And you said it in Arabic, of course. And what makes it worse is I get shitty customers and I look at them and I have to say thank you. And then I say, well, come back again. And your grandma looks at you and says, well, that's your dream. Life is trying to tell you something, that your life is just shitty. And you keep eating shit. And then you say, thank you, come back again, give me more shit. once you make some changes to your life. So that is another aspect of dreams. That there are certain dreams that are trying to tell you that there are certain things about your life that are not very pleasant if you can't change it. But to change anything, you need resources. Wish by itself is not enough. Then there is this other kind of a dream. And these are the ones I myself don't really understand. But when I was like 18 and met my own teacher, for the next 10 years, one of the things that teachers usually tell you is keep a journal and make sure you write down all your dreams. And about 90% of your dreams have your teachers in it. And I'm not talking about this is like intellectual, philosophical, religious stuff, okay? Now, whether or not that is also an extension of your imagination, I don't really know. But if you have Malcolm X as your teacher, guru, mentor, and is trying to guide you to have you live a certain kind of a lifestyle, those are good dreams to have, even though they may all be fake, There are elements of inspiration in them that you can't find in ordinary people. There are these other kinds of dream reserved for what we call Ahl Jazabe. You ever seen the movie The Matrix? Anybody? You haven't seen the movie? The Matrix is like the Quran. You need to go home and see the movie. Because Thomas Anderson is like this young Muhammad who goes into the cave. It's dark, it's lonely. He lives in room 101, all alone by himself, and he constantly reads this book, Reality versus Illusion. He's always on his desktop trying to figure out if he can find the riddles to life's mysteries. That's what Muhammad is, a human being on a quest, not to find money or social status. He wants truth, and that's what Thomas Anderson wants. He's filled with doubt. That's the name he's given, Thomas, the doubtful disciple of Jesus. Anderson, son of man. Put the words together, son of man who doubts. That's all of us in this class. Do I love? Do I not love? Should I keep the class? Should I drop the class? Should I marry? Should I not marry? Have kids now or later? And then like Muhammad, this fellow all of a sudden descends. For Muhammad, it's Angel Gabriel. For Thomas Anderson, it's Morpheus, the god of dreams. Why is it that out of millions of people out there, all of a sudden Morpheus or Gabriel descends and focuses his or her attention only on one single fellow? I don't really know. Ahl Jazabe. Jazabe means those who are attracted, those who are snatched. It's like you go to a party, all Yemenis, because you are Yemeni, and they're like 50 young men. You look at someone and you just say, I just like him. How the hell does that happen? There are 50 options out there. And that's what we call snatched. So sometimes some people, and you don't have to be religious, you don't have to be mature, you can be a whore, you could be a pimp, it doesn't really matter. There are forces out there that I don't really understand, and they may all be fake, I don't really know. But all of a sudden, there is this like transformation, what we call alchemy. You change the very core of something that's metal ultimately turns into gold. آنان که خاک را به نظر کیمیا کنند آیا بود که گوشه چشمی به ما کنند. So do dreams mean anything? Yeah. But like anything else in life, someone has a dysfunctional father But because of you happen to be only 15, you don't really have the right tools in your toolbox, all you see about your father is abuse. And then little by little, emotions are created inside you. And those emotions snowball, and they eventually turn into trauma. And the traumas consume you for the next 56 years of your life. And then at the age of 50, you seek therapy, and then slowly tools are given to you. And now you go back in time and you begin to interpret those experiences very, very differently. Dreams are like that. When you're young, you don't really know how to interpret those dreams, decode them. So you need an elder of sorts. It's something that my own teacher told me, which is accurate. That whenever you have a dream, you must always have a mentor to decode those dreams for you. Now here's another thing about dreams that you should know. Once in a while, I find myself like sitting in the back room. I have like 4 journals. They all have to do with the dreams I had when I was like 20 to about 35, 40. I said out of curiosity, I said, I'm just bored. Let me just like open one up and see. It's only now at the age of 63. I had a dream like 23, 24, 25 years ago, 40 years ago. I'm able to kind of look at it the right way. So, should you pay attention to them? Yeah. There are some dreams that are troubling. It's like, you're my wife, hypothetically speaking, and I have all these recurring dreams that you're with Oliver. Hello, Oliver. Saying, what the hell is that? Am I paranoid? Yeah. Have I observed your interaction with Oliver? Yeah. Does it say that the two of you physically were intimate? Maybe. Does it also suggest that you have not been physically intimate, but emotionally you have been intimate? Yeah. Does it mean that physically you and I are married? Yes, but emotionally we've been divorced? Yeah. Is it fun living with that idea, experience, thought? No. Is it enough evidence for me to break up our marriage? No. Or maybe yes, but I just can't do it. So yeah, they have meaning. Hello. Feeling better? Feeling good?
Is there a book or anything that's like,
No. There are many books out there that.
finish the sentence.
Okay, go ahead.
On people that have, I guess you could say, a gift that have dreams that come true?
Imagine you have a son. And your son is 10 and he walks to school by himself, but you live in a neighborhood infested with drugs and alcohol and gangs and this and that. You don't need to be a prophet to worry about your son's future. And you don't have to be a prophet to feel paranoia about your son's future. You understand your environment, you understand the forces of the environment, you understand fragility of being 10 and being impressionable. At any time, like Pinocchio, he can be stolen. Emotionally. Okay. He leaves the house being one way, comes back completely different. Do you sometimes look away saying, God, if I was blind, I wouldn't see any of this. If I wasn't a mother, I wouldn't see any of this. If I didn't care, I wouldn't see any of this. Are there people who are able to predict the future? Absolutely. Is the future mostly positive or negative? They're mostly negative. There was a friend that we had, came for a visit from Canada. And this is when a few things happened back home. But she knew it was going to happen like 2 years prior. And then it happened. And she kind of went nutty for a few weeks. She went to the doctor, she got some pills, she was put back together. And then when she came to us, she said, for the next few years, the only thing I did was to pray to God for this ability to be taken from me. And eventually it was. I think all of us in this class desire to be wise, desire to be insightful, desire to be reflective, without really knowing the sort of burden that comes with it. And the reason is, I think most of the things that we experience in life annoy us, frustrate us, make us feel profoundly powerless. And so most of the dreams that you have, if you were relatively honest and sincere and earnest, the truth is they would burden you. Kind of like if you've seen that sculpture of Atlas, this young man who's carrying this like globe on his shoulder or his back, but the knees are bent, the back is bent or broken. At a certain point you realize, man, it's not fun being Jesus, carrying the sins of the world on your shoulder. And what's a sin, really? I mean, you look out there and you say, man, all these young people taking my class, at a certain point they're going to realize that this class meant nothing to them, that the diploma means nothing to them, that an A means nothing to them. And then someone comes to you and says, Professor, how do I get an A? And you say, shit, how do I make this stupid kid understand that it means nothing? And you pay a heavy price for that. So are there people out there? Absolutely. Now, given that America is a very intellectual and emotionally depraved and deprived environment, everything eventually becomes marketable. You sell everything. You don't find very many people like Carlos Castaneda, because one of the things that you understand in mature traditions is that good teachers must always remain invisible. The idea that no prophet is ever welcome in his own town. I mean, you should take heed of that you don't go out there telling everyone how wise you are or what, intellectual you are. Because first, the dangerousness of sharing wisdom with other people. This idea of Socrates going around telling people the unexamined life is not worth living. Well, shit, if you mass produced that and sold that to people, everybody would go home, look at their companion and say, does he love me? Does he love me not? How can I be sure? And all of a sudden you become Thomas Anderson. You're filled with doubt, and eventually that will destroy your relationship, your sanity. Anyway, so always remain invisible. If someone knocks on your door, you invite them in, you test them out, you check their background, because, it's like anything else in life. If I like you and I want to go steady with you, like a romantic relationship, but every time we get together, you keep talking to me about your ex, it's just a waste of my time. Unless, like Sebastian, I'm hopeful that at a certain point I can capture your heart and your ex will be trashed, right? So when someone comes in and says, I want this and I want that, you test them. Do they have financial issues? Do they have emotional issues? Do they have parental issues? Where exactly are they in life? Because all these relationships, and every time you want to give them something, you need to occupy their space, emotional, intellectual space, and you want to occupy more and more space as time goes on. But if you're going to occupy some space and then have another thing push your image, your work out and trash it, then you say, well, what's the use of doing that? There's a reason why at a certain point, parents just give up on their kids. Go fuck yourself. Knock on my door when you have some sanity. Because right now you're just stupid. Nothing wrong with that. It makes you very alone, but by then you'll be fine. I mean, going back to Nathan's question on Tuesday about, I don't know what the question was, but if you're like a student of life at the age of 18, You're going to be sitting in your room reading and writing and thinking. By the time you're like 35, 40, you know how to be alone. You know, and everything else that falls into your life, including romantic relationships, they're just like footnotes to your life. And just in case they leave, it doesn't mean they won't hurt you, you know, their absence. But for the most part, you can be healed after like a few weeks. You don't need therapy. It's not like a traumatic experience. She left me, fuck her. You know. And those who are able to kind of, who have been trained to be alone for like 15, 20, 30, 40 years, you know, there is something really interesting about, you guys know what an oyster is? So what you have is like an oyster comes up or stays down and opens, you know, her mouth, grabs a piece of sand or a grain of sand or maybe an air bubble, and then closes the mouth. And then whatever it is that they're having inside, it's an irritant. You know, it just irritates them. And they keep trying to like, I don't know, get rid of it. But in the process, all these chemicals are created. And after a few years, what you have is pearl. It's like diamond. Lots of pressure, and all of a sudden this solid piece of rock turns into like this gem. I think if you have been able to spend a good amount of time by yourself in a very, very healthy way, there is something about you. It's like a magnet. And then whoever is out there, they become like paper clips. They find themselves gravitating towards you. And if they stay around you for a long period, that paper clip that was just a paper clip now has magnetic qualities. So all the footnotes in someone who is trained to be alone, in as much as things in their life leaving them will pain them, don't be sorry, it's fine. Anyone else? Matthew.
What do you think about like Yelp reviews and rate my professor type of things? So I find them hilarious. Reading a bunch of 1 stars. People who take their time to publicly complain.
I have a follow-up question before you answer it. Have you read your Rate My Professor? And if so, what is your score?
I don't know. My wife sometimes calls me and says, Amir, you have a new posting. And someone says they're going to come to the house and decapitate you.
Oh, wow.
I say, thank God. So things like Yelp or Rate My Professor, going to your question, this is the way I see it. When you're given an experience, I mean, look, let's say you sit in my class and I look at you and say, Jessica, may I just be, it's playful. I hope you don't take this personally. And I don't mean to be offensive. But if you're thin-skinned, I can just pass you by. So your skin is thick, like a buffalo? I just feel sorry for your boyfriend. Now, let's say I look at you and say, Jessica, do you enjoy men looking at you? Let's say you say, no, I want men to respect me as a woman. Okay, that's a nice wish to have. Do you know the power of pornography in this culture? No, I hate pornography. I want men to look at my humanity. A woman, intelligent. Okay. Did you know that men are visual creatures? I don't give a shit what they are. Well, do you know that, well, right now, Abi, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Remember, I'm just being playful. That you're showing a lot of skin. Now, you may enjoy the attention because all of us really enjoy attention. I mean, who wants to be invisible and feel insignificant and irrelevant? Now, let's say that you didn't find my comments to be mature, professional, appropriate, which means that my comments have created inside you certain emotions and thoughts. That's a lot of pressure inside you, like a boiler system, emotions. And the point I'm trying to make is life creates emotions inside us. And even if you're asleep, if you have dreams, you wake up from them and you say, God damn it, why? Or maybe it's inspired. But the point is, if you want to know, a very simple definition of what it means to be a human being is like a boiler system that eventually needs to express itself out. So you come to this class, whether you have a positive or a negative experience, somehow you need to release that. You either think it and then it disappears, you write it and it disappears, you speak it and it disappears, you complain it and it disappears, or you rate my professor it. And it's not just limited to rate my professor. I mean, I didn't go into philosophy because I thought it's such a great branch of knowledge in life. I was just fucked up kid. Confused like most adolescents. I wake up and say, okay, what the hell am I doing? I don't want to be like my dad, and I don't want to be like my neighbor, and I don't want to be like this, and I don't want to be like that. And I feel like, there's some screws loose inside me. What the hell do I do with it? Okay? It's not like I'm a philosopher. I'm looking for answers because I'm so fucked up. So I read Plato. Then I read some Sufi literature. Then I read the Gospels. Wow, you know what? I can see my own patheticness in these books. And that's how I release tension. Should you take comments on Read My Professor seriously? I think if there is a uniformity of expression, I mean, if one of you went to my dean and complained, it's just one of like 40 people. If like 35 people complain, then you have an issue. So it's not so much about, the Read My Professor or the Yelp. It's just the way human beings function. We have this, it's like, do you pee? Oh. And that's how it is. Read My Professor is like emotional peeing. That's what it is. And some peas smell bad and some peas smell good. And some peas are colorless and some peas are very inclusive and diverse. I mean, what you should really do if you want to get a full taste of diversity when it comes to peeing, eat some beets. Those beets, like beets. And then everything comes out like red. Tia, you're not finding this humorous.
No, I was picturing asparagus.
Oh man, that's awful. But it's very healthy. What is this class? Okay. Yeah.
Probably not a
Sure.
great question, but in terms of we have terminal learning outcomes or whatever you're supposed to have for the course, what is it that you would hope that we take away from this class? There's not like a book or anything, but when it's all said and done, I know you have to put something on paper like for syllabus, but
I put the stuff on the syllabus because it's required.
Right.
It's a state law.
It's a
it's outside of that.
It's a law, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's punishable execution. Middle Eastern style. What do I hope? Nothing. You're here, you're having a good time.
Okay, second question. There's certain students that you seem genuinely happy to see when they come in.
You're not one of them.
I know. Like, it's like they're previous students.
Well, Abby, I met Abby when she was 18. She was like a tiny little kid, you know? And she's now 60. No, she's 40, but she's close to 60. You have to round things up. You know, in Middle East, like we round things up. Like, how old are you? I mean, I'm 63, but when someone asks me how old are you, I say 65. When I'm 60, I say, how old are you? I'm 70. When I'm 72, how old are you? I'm dead. So, look. You're an old, mature, young woman. And you've been around for a while to know that for some strange reason, certain people are just very attractive to you. And it's not because they show skin or they don't show skin. There's just something about them, you know? I remember like 30, 40 years ago, I went to San Francisco to watch a Persian movie, and there was this young kid. I was going up the escalator, and this guy with a beard and beautiful hair, I look at him, he looks at me, and we just bowed to one another, and that was it. And there was just something about him that I recognized, and I don't know what it was. And I mean, the movie theater is packed with Persians, and yet it was only this particular fellow that captured my interest. So the point is, there are biases that are very organic. I look at you and I just like you. There are certain biases that are the outcome of your life experiences. If you have a student who's always looking at their cell phone, well, shit, I'm not going to pay them attention. Even if like taking notes. My eyes, they're looking at their phone, play with their phone, well, fuck them. I'm going to dismiss them. Am I biased? Absolutely. You know, I mean, I'm coming here, it's my time, it's my energy, it's my life experience, it's my culture, you know. You should have a decent amount of respect. And if you like those basic components, you know, I don't need to pay you attention. And if you come to my office and say, I'm failing this class, I say, well, that's great, I'm going to give you 2 Fs. You know? So there are certain biases that are uneducated, and those are the things you need to be aware of. You know, so it's good to be biased because it's the outcome. I mean, it's a certain category of biases. It's the outcome of your life experiences, man. You should appreciate that, respect that, pay attention to it. I know we live in a culture that says inclusivity and this and all that, but fuck that. It doesn't work with life. You know, life is not all inclusive. I mean, I don't know if you have garbage bins, don't you? Yeah. There is one just for fucking grass. There is another for cardboard. And there's just another for shit. And you don't mix them. And just in case someone knocks on your door and says, you know, diversity and inclusivity is good, just put all the trash together. You say, no, that's not the way it functions. And you should pay attention to that in everyday life. Some people are just not likable. Fuck them. I didn't even like them. I mean, the idea of I mean, look, you and I come from different cultures. Like Sebastian is 18. I'm 63. What the fuck do I have in common with that guy? Nothing. Are we equal? No. Why do I need to respect his opinion? What has he done? How many books he's read? How many breaks up has he gone through? How well is he able to process any fucking experience out there? 0! Hi, Sebastian. And now you live in the shithole of a place that says, well, everybody's opinion is important. No. Fuck. I know. What can you say? Oliver, I'm back to you now.
Do you think anybody like truly doesn't care what other people think about them? Like anybody, and do you think that's healthy?
So there are, we may have talked about this, I don't know. I think initially you want everyone to like you because you won't have any friends. And as you're growing up, it's tough to be alone. I mean, you'll go nuts. At a different stage in your life, you know, you will have a select group of people liking you. And you will do whatever you can to have those people like you. Okay. And then as you grow older, your circle shrinks. You know, you have figured out what you like, what you don't like. And so if you had 50 friends, now you have 25. Then you come to a place where you say, you know, for someone like Jean-Paul Sartre, he very much like you, your question, he said, you know, people are difficult to be with because they're constantly judging you. I mean, I have no doubt after this class, when this class is over, some of you will walk away saying, what the hell is wrong with this guy? He's so crude. I mean, he's supposed to be professional. I mean, he's got some degrees, he uses profanities, right? And if I was a young instructor, and if I was not tenured, for example, and if I wanted my students to like me in a very like cheap, pathetic sort of a way, like I'm very needy that way, and then it would impact me. I would go to rate my professor to see if anyone has like bad-mouthed me behind closed doors. Let's say that I like Abi, and out of the 50 people in this room, the only person whose opinion really matters to me a little bit is hers. And I go to rate my professor, and there is the comment. What an asshole of an instructor, Amir Sabzavari. You know, stay away from him like a plague, you know. And then underneath, she signs her name, Abi. And you realize at a certain point, you want one or two people that you highly value to appreciate you. Their opinion of you matters a great deal. You know, whenever I run into Angela Davis, something about my physical body changes. You know, I stand before her very respectfully, not just because of her age, but also because of her skin color, because of what she has done with her life. I mean, these are huge things. And then I never tell her I teach. And I never tell her my opinion about anything. In the presence of Angela Davis, I'm an infant. It's best for me to keep my fucking mouth shut. That's the only way I can respect this woman, you know? So it's good. It's good to be around the right people. And that's subjective, really. You know, and then only have those values be important to you. I mean, like if you're a Christian and you consider yourself to be a very devout Christian and you try to live your life according to the Christian, you know, teachings, that's a great way to be. You know, because 90% of what the world of advertisement tries to offer you, you just trash them. The only thing you care about is the Gospels. That's it. You know, does that make you an extremist? Maybe. Is it healthy for you? Depending on how you use it. I mean, look at what Ilham is doing. Not eating food from sunrise to sunset, that's extremism. But the belief behind it is quite positive. Anyone else with anything before I go home and find the bridge? Okay, let's do a quickie. Anyone else? Tyler?
What break would you choose?
One that's like very low. You know, yeah, where it doesn't hurt my knees or hip or. Again, my sincere apologies to those of you who felt that borrowing from Tia's t-shirt, you didn't find this class to be dope. Have a nice weekend. Stay safe. Take care.